So welcome to number 5. We're at our 5th meeting. Next one will be our half-year mock, which will be, maybe we'll do a party thing, right? I would like to ask everybody again, if there's a presentation going on or people are discussing something, please turn your microphone to mute. I now also have a mechanical keyboard, so and lots of people have them, and they make a lot of noise. So see if that helps. We have our Discord community. I think Hidde already put a link in the chat for it. If you want to join our Discord, you're very welcome. We have quite an active little group, and it's growing every meetup. So feel free to join. We talk about hack the box stuff, and we talk about stuff that is nothing related to hacking. So it's quite fun. I will be making recordings and videos, thingies and photos from the meetup so that we can post them on our website and also send them to Hack the Box so that they can be included in a little promotion thing that they do every month. So beware, if you don't want to be in a picture, then don't turn on your webcam. Anything that you want to view back if you have missed it or thought, hey, that was interesting, I want to look at it again. I put all the videos on YouTube and I link them from our website. Every month we put a new article on the website with some information about the meetup and links to videos and slides and stuff like that. So if you're interested, go and visit that one. What to expect today? Already said, we have Ian from Hack the Box. He's presenting. This is his first meetup, so yay for him. He's learning something new today. Then afterwards, after the Q&A and stuff like that, we'll have game night. I have developed a very daunting quiz and trivia questions, but there's prizes, so it will be worth it. And then after the quiz, we'll just have a lot of chit chat. We'll have celebrations and people will cry that they did not get any prizes. Hopefully we'll have a bunch of discussions as well. And at about 9 o'clock, we'll have closing. But before we started the meetup, Danny has said that he wants to achieve his yellow Discord highlights. And in case you were not here last time, with our Discord, in order to get a yellow band, you need to read a Miffy story. So he will be reading a Miffy story just before closing. You can choose to be there or be square. And so we'll close at 9 and then that will be the night. The next meetup will be in September, the 16th. So mark your calendars. And we will have Milad Aslaner from Microsoft talking. And afterwards, we'll do a lot of hacking again. So mark it out in your calendar. And if you're marking it, just put the repeat thing for every 3rd Wednesday of the month, and then you don't have to do it again. But now, Ian, it is all up to you. We'll give you the floor, and you can take us into the world of Hack the Box and everything that goes around with it.
Thank you, Arkin. I'll do my best. I'll go through the presentation, hopefully give you a bit of insight into how we go about creating content in Hack the Box and what things really inform us and help to shape the way we do things. So let me just share my screen now.
And we're getting a lot of static from you, Ian, so I don't know if you moved. But...
Let me try.
There comes the real good headphones. Look like a gamer.
Okay, how's that? I've just plugged in a microphone instead. Is that better?
Awesome, awesome. That looks awesome. A lot better. Thank you.
Sorry about that, guys. Okay, let me just share my screen now. Okay, so you should all hopefully see that. Let me know if you can't. So essentially, the presentation, well, I say presentation, but really just the talk today is on content creation and really what are the things that inform us and inform our judgment when creating content that is fun and rewarding. And so, okay, I'm unmuted again, which is good. So where to begin? Well, first we have a look at one of the main things that really informs what content we look to create in Hack the Box is the trends in the industry. So for example, there's a shift to cloud computing going on. Companies are moving their on-prem data centers to hosted data centers or the cloud. If you're a new company, you're probably starting out in the cloud already. And so the cloud is something that's very interesting. Now, if we fast forward maybe 5 to 10 years from now, cloud pen testing is maybe just normal pen testing. And this is just, you know, it's like e-business is actually what just business, right? And so, but this is a very important trend which we know that people are interested in. So we want to showcase content on that. Also, CVEs. There's a lot of things in the news about the F5 big IP vulnerability and other things like the Citrix vulnerabilities, etc. And so, really, we look to showcase some interesting CVEs as well. So people can practice that and help and actually exploit that in a safe way that doesn't involve them getting into trouble on the internet. And so another thing that's kind of cool is DevOps, DevSecOps, SecDevOps, however you want to call it. I don't really fully understand all the differences and the nuances between all of those. Maybe someone else can help me out, but we know that this is very interesting for people, and it's kind of a trend in terms of, you know, my background was in system administration originally, and now if you're a sysadmin, then probably nowadays you more do DevOps than like a traditional sysadmin. It's all kind of heading towards a more DevOps way of doing things. We're also very interested in Internet of Things, all these devices, whether it's a wearable, something inside your fridge, something in a motorway infrastructure. It's all just very prevalent. It's everywhere, and it's something that we need to pay a lot of attention to securing, because these devices, which are always on and always connected, unfortunately, security is often a bit of a hindsight, it seems. And of course, red teaming. I mean, this is something that people are really interested in, and so we look to showcase interesting content in this area as well. So those are some hot trends. It's not an exhaustive list, of course. I just picked out some things that are interesting. Some other things that help to really shape what we do at Hack the Box is our community, right? And so if there are things that you guys are interested in, we take a lot of notice on this, and we look to see what are the most popular things and try and create content for this. And so I've actually gone through all of the feedback that people in the community have given us on Instagram, LinkedIn, on Twitter, and I've tried to visualize it. And actually, this is really interesting. This is from you guys in the community. This is what you say you would like to see more of in Hack the Box. And so these are kind of the high level categories. Of course, I've kind of generalized it a little bit, so you can't see too many of the specifics. But you see, hardware and IoT are very popular. They've been requested a lot, as has cloud and web generally. CVEs, so people can practice on interesting vulnerabilities. But also reverse engineering is something that's really interesting to people, which is interesting because web and pwn are kind of traditionally the kind of most popular CTF categories, I think, but reverse engineering seems to be very popular as well. So we look to kind of get all the feedback from the community, visualize it. Well, we don't always try to extract the data from this visual format, but it does help to represent kind of at a high level what's being requested. Okay, and so apart from the community, something else is also research, and this is something that for everybody in the Hack the Box is very important. We are super keen on self-development and continuous improvement and learning, and it also helps us to create fresh content. And not only that, but so many members of our community and in the InfoSec community in general are doing amazing things, right? And it really, when we create content, this is an opportunity to almost pay homage to people, some, you know, the shoulders on who we're standing, really, and just showcase their work. And so moving on a little bit in terms of how we actually look to design a challenge. Well, we kind of need to take into account how much inspiration is needed to solve a particular challenge versus how much work is needed. And so this diagram here, which I've taken from the link below, so feel free to check it out. I'm happy to share the slides as well, so you don't have to type in the URL manually. But something like this is very useful to try to give us a steer. When we're thinking of implementing a particular scenario, we can think, okay, well, hang a minute, how much work is it? Too much work, maybe? Is it does it need some inspiration? None? Too much? And it helps to really guide us to create content which is hopefully well received and fun and interesting and avoids the kind of the red bits on the graph on the table there. Equally, there's negative inspiration. So there are things that players actually know, and things things they think they know, and things they think they don't know, and what they actually know and what they actually don't know. And so this is kind of how it helps us to maybe try to predict how players are going to feel about a particular challenge. They might feel that they don't know a particular subject area, but if the challenge has been well designed through exploratory learning, there are no logical leaps, etc., then they can follow the breadcrumbs and actually figure it out themselves and hopefully enjoy themselves. And so something that's mentioned quite a lot also is information asymmetry, right? This is where us as challenge creators are in a very privileged position. We know we know the solution of how any piece of content should be solved. And so for us, maybe it's going from A to B seems very logical when actually it may not be so logical. And so there's kind of like a bias there that we need to be very careful of. From a participant, from a player point of view, really the only information they get from a challenge is after interact with it. And so it comes down to how we design the methodology that we use to design our content and our challenges, and just to make sure that people can exploit it in a logical way that doesn't require any guesswork. And so, yeah, the general guidelines that we say is that all content should be worthwhile to play. It should be fun. It's time that people are giving up their precious time, and time is very precious. And so we want to respect that and understand that people don't have unlimited time. And so the time they should, the time they are giving to us to enjoy this stuff is actually, they should be rewarded. It should be fun. It should teach them something, and it shouldn't require any guesswork or brute force, which isn't really fun for people. And really, that's kind of it in a nutshell. The first half was just to have a brief presentation. I was mindful I didn't want to talk for too long, but I kind of wanted also like a Q&A. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to try and answer them.
All right. Thank you. That was quite insightful, Ian. You are as a developer, you have created many challenges. Do you know how many you've created up to now?
In terms of challenges, actually, I need to create my first one. But in terms of
boxes, machines.
Yeah. In terms of machines, I think I'm coming up to 15, maybe. Yeah. So I think Harris has created, whose chap has created 20 or 22. So I'm kind of heading up there.
Almost the #1 spot. So
yeah.
From all those machines, you've wasted a lot of my time already. So that's
mine as well.
Yeah, I think most people here will have at one point cursed you for something. But what has been your favorite type of machine to make? What type of challenge were you thinking about, and did it actually live up to what people actually did? Because there's a lot of unintended routes.
Yeah. That's a good question. So for me, I enjoy creating anything, but the things that I enjoy creating the most are the things that I really learn from. So let's say a machine like Access. It's kind of stuff I knew already. It was interesting to create and to make a realistic scenario for people, but it didn't. It maybe didn't teach me that much. That particular machine. A machine like Ethereal, or maybe Helpline, or maybe even some of the newer non-Windows machines which I've created have kind of taught me a bit more, and so I've really enjoyed creating those. And yeah, you mentioned unintended solutions. Probably most of my machines have some unintended solution, and it's fun. I mean, I'm cool with unintended solutions. It highlights to me how much that I still have to learn, and how, I really like the clever ways that people solve the content, and also sometimes, I mean, not that we intend to have like 0 days in releasing Hack the Box content, but occasionally it happens where people will find a no day, and that's kind of exciting too. Of course, it has to be submitted in the right way, but but yeah, I mean, the unintended solutions, it's very hard as just one person to try to cover all the bases of what people might do. And so yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure there's been one machine yet that hasn't had an unintended solution. I think Forest came close because the unintended solution was actually harder in my opinion, than the intended one. But all the others have had some horrible unintended solution.
Yeah, yeah, true, true. Let's see if anybody has a question. And also, I've thought about
Yeah.
questions before. So.
Do you monitor how people solve a box? Or how do you know how they solve it?
Interesting. I mean, I think if they solve it in an unintended way, usually the first thing we hear about it is maybe they've asked for a badge, like the exploit developer badge or something like that. So they come to us and say, hey, we've solved the machine in some sort of way which we don't think was intended. And that's kind of how we find out about it. Other times, I like to read write-ups a lot that people do, whether it's ones that are published online or they upload to hack players. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I like to do it as well. But also the feedback on the HackerBox website is quite insightful as well. People give a lot of feedback on, let's say, the machine that we released last weekend. It had a few stability issues, which we're looking to address. And it's just a really good way of people in the community being able to speak with us, essentially. And so there's a lot of things like that about unintended ways and how people solve the machine, which we get through the kind of the feedback system.
Nice, nice. I see Danny has raised his virtual hand. So Danny,
Yes.
Yeah, it worked.
So it worked? Yeah. So I think I have two questions, actually, if I can remember them. But the first one is about the signing up challenge, basically. So I have to admit, I haven't done too much in Hack the Box beside these meetups. We did a reverse engineering one, if I remember correctly. And to be able to actually start it or download it or whatever, I had to sign up, which was a challenge. And I was wondering how you were maybe involved in this signing up challenge and what your thoughts on it are. This is the first question.
There has been a change to the signing up challenge. So it's instead of just having a login screen now, there's like a need help and you can get a hint, and it kind of guides you through the process of solving the challenge, which is really nice. And I think we've noticed that's been a really big step for kind of onboarding people to the platform. This is a competitive platform, of course, and people like that they have to hack their way in, but having just something that gives you a little
help.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And were you involved in this challenge as well?
We were the original challenge was by Harris, but in terms of the changes to the challenge and stuff like that, that's, you know, we all discuss internally.
Right.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, so another question I have is, I was just wondering, so I'll just call Hack the Box a hacking game for now. And there are multiple of these hacking games online, right? There are different websites with different challenges or games or things to solve.
Yeah.
And the longer they exist, the more like on other forums or maybe websites that offer answers and ways to cheat your way to the answer, for example. And I was wondering, does Hack the Box maybe make honeypots to counteract these cheating guys, or update or change the challenges, or do you even care, or you don't mind because it's an individual thing, or how do you approach this problem?
Yeah, I mean it is a problem, of course, but for the sign up process specifically, we're not so fussed on that. Because
no, it wasn't meant for the sign up process, but just in general,
okay.
with all the challenges you offer.
Yeah, so for the machines specifically, we've implemented flag rotation to just to make sure that people can't share flags, really, and it identifies people who buy flags as well, and So we want to make this a really transparent platform that's really credible, because we're noticing a lot of people actually put like the Hack the Box profile on their CVs and stuff like that. And so we want to make sure that when a company actually looks at a Hack the Box profile, that it is credible.
Right.
And for the challenges, it's a little bit hard to get flag rotation working on certain types of challenges, I guess, like let's say forensics, where you need to do a memory dump. That's kind of hard to dynamically change, I think. But certain other challenges like Pwn or web that just have like a flag.txt, it's much easier to rotate challenges.
Right. Okay. Well, that was my questions.
All right.
Can
We
I
have a
ask?
question. Oh, yeah, sure. Go
Can
ahead.
I?
Yes. Go
Ian,
ahead.
I'm looking at boxes and how they're created, and I'm an active Hack the Box member since not so long. And I'm looking at it and very interested in maybe someday submitting a box.
Nice.
Now I see that there's loads of boxes in the queues to be reviewed. How long does it take when you submit a box till it's published?
That's a really good question. And so I think in Hack the Box V2, under the box submissions page, I'm not sure if it's active yet or if it's going to be pushed in an upcoming beta version. But I can't, without looking at that page now, I can't 100% confirm, but I believe we do specify a time period by which you could, you should expect the box to be reviewed within. It's not so reasonable to just submit a box and after a year it's still there. I think we did have a long queue at one point, but I think in the last 3 months or so, or maybe longer, we've been really going through that list, and if content is not so suitable, we try to of course work with the content creator to make changes. If possible. If they're not able to make changes or they're unwilling, of course, we have to reject at that point, which is a shame. But yeah, I think now the queue is much shorter than it used to be, just because we're a lot more active with the review process.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, no worries.
Cool. All right. We have a question in the chat from Nick. He asked, I'll read it and then there we go. Could you tell us a bit about the method you use to run challenges? ? Are they cloud-based containers which are spun up as we VPN into them? ? How do you simulate a network connection between them? Disclaimer, I'm new to Hack the Box, so I might be asking strange things. Well, I don't think it's really strange. So I guess the root question is, can you tell us something about the infrastructure that you use to run Hack the Box?
Yeah, so we do spin up, and it is a good question for sure. We spin up unique instances of challenges for all users. Currently using Docker, but we are kind of always looking to review the infrastructure and use the best technologies available to us to help provide the best service. And currently we don't allow any communication from one challenge to another, or any sort of interference like that. But some challenges can have internet connectivity if the scenario needs it, which can be very useful if you have like certain exploitation vectors. But yeah, currently it's Docker, and so if you were to create a challenge, you could create a Docker file, and that would be very handy for us.
Nice. And for machines, can you shed some light?
Yeah, for machines, we of course we use we prefer VMware virtual machines, but even VirtualBox, if you just wanted to submit a VirtualBox, we can convert that, no problem. So any format really is fine. In terms of nested virtualization, we're not so keen on that, just because it. In the past, we have had issues with nested virtualization, having to update multiple kind of sub-containers within a VM. It just gets the admin overhead of that is quite high. With Docker, it's kind of a lot easier, and so we're generally cool with Docker in terms of nested virtualization. But yeah, for machines, we of course I can't say too much about the backend infrastructure because it's a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, so you have virtualization, you run virtual machines, and for challenges you use Docker and you spin them up for every user, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the short version of it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Nice. He says clear, thanks. So cool. Anybody have another question?
I think there was another question in the chat which got scrolled up, or was it already answered?
It's from Nick, the one from Nick, you mean?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, we just went over that, so that's.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just away for a bit,
okay.
so okay.
That's okay. That's okay. Cool. Well, I have plenty of questions. I have a pet peeve, which I will throw into the air, and we'll find out how you react. Because we have machines, they have beautiful write-ups and stuff like that. But yeah. I'm one of those people that like to do the reverse engineering challenges. And there's some that, well, I bang my head against for like a couple of weeks, and then I go like, So, but when they retire, they don't get a write-up or anything, right? So I need to go around the internet and to beg people to tell me how to do the challenge. So I was wondering, why are there no write-ups for the challenges?
That is an excellent point. And that's something which is being looked at.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
because
I can't say
if you know
when,
anything about headache, I would be very happy to know that.
Sorry, it might be a stupid question. What do you mean with write-up? Like where they give the answers, or?
Yes.
Yes. So when a machine has retired, if you're a VIP user, you get full access to the write-up for that machine, which is, I think, of course, I'm biased, but I'm the one that has to approve it, and so I kind of I feel that they're amazing, but yeah, it's kind of I feel they're really high quality, and they really help to teach a lot about the tools and techniques that you can use, whether it's like an easy machine and just stuff to get familiar with, or if it's like a hard machine and it uses some really nice like web exploitation or maybe Active Directory. I think the write-ups really, I'm very proud of them actually. I think they do a lot of justice to the machines.
Yeah, and so for challenges, they would be very good to have, right?
Yeah, and this is I will make a point of kind of seeing where we are with that. I think it's a very interesting thing.
Yeah, I think it will help a lot of people, because especially in the harder challenges, the easy ones, most people, you go onto the Discord and you can find somebody who will have an answer. But yeah. Well, I was looking at Pseudo and Headache, for instance, and they're like I think insanely difficult.
Yeah,
and it's good fun. It's really good fun, but it's when you spend like a couple of weeks on them and you don't have the answer, it's frustrating that.
That's right, and you don't always have the time to kind of spend 2 weeks on trying to research something, and so having a write-up gives you the option, if you want, to kind of spend like an afternoon or an evening to go through it.
Yeah, well, I think they are a valuable teaching resource.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
If you look at the school where I teach, we also use Hack the Box. And then I put the students that are learning to do some hacking, I put them on older machines, and I tell them, well, first scan it, see what's there, and then take the write-up and read through it, and maybe look at the IPSec video on double speed and go through it. And they learn so much, and by the end of the courses, they do their own boxes and they get their points. But all the tips and tricks and all the small things that you can teach somebody, the write-ups, they actually teach you how to do it, and it's very fun to look at a very old write-up and then see how the methodology has evolved over time.
Yeah, it is. You're right. If you look at one of the really first ones that Araxel or myself did. They're kind of the style is very different to because we used to use GDocs to create the write-ups, and so now we use GitHub, which of course looks much better, and yeah.
So I'm very grateful for them, because then, if we don't know, we can always look it up later, and there's always very good write-ups in the community, of course, but having a point of truth is very good to have. So, but I was wondering, you do a lot of boxes yourself as well, I would think. Do you hack your
yeah, and so any content that we create internally, I kind of hack into as well, and just make sure that it's kind of up to the standard. And yeah, I really love it. This is one of the things I feel very privileged being able to test and hack into the content. It's an honor for me.
Nice. And what is your favorite challenge or machine up to now?
Ooh.
Yeah, you could have expected that question, right?
My goodness, there were so many I just loved. If I had to choose one, I'd maybe go for Oz. I enjoyed Oz. Yeah.
What was it? What makes it so special for you then?
For me, I just remember when I was creating the write-up for it, I just remember really enjoying it, and it kind of taught me some new things. And I think if a machine teaches you something, and also, you know, the exploitation process is pretty logical, then it's fun. And I just remember having a lot of fun on that machine.
Nice. Orange. Is that the OAuth machine?
Oz had containers and
oh, nice.
SQLi.
Yeah. Beautiful. Does anybody else have a question?
How do you spell that machine you mentioned? How do you spell it?
Oz, O-Z.
OZ, okay, thank you.
Let's see if we can quickly grab the IP address of it, and we'll put it in the chat. Well, we'll add it to the. It's probably a retired machine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But every time, come here. Seriously, copy. Yeah, there we go.
How would you advise to connect to a box using VMware VirtualBox, or just on your laptop? Is there a chance that somebody from a box in Hack the Box connects to my laptop back, for example, using a VPN? How would you see that for security-wise?
If you have a client-side firewall enabled and you don't expose SSH externally, and you make sure that you reset your SSH keys, then I think you're fine. If you kind of use a vanilla VM and you don't enable the firewall and you don't reset your keys, then that's maybe a problem. But but generally speaking, just enable a firewall and take like some basic precautions, like resetting your SSH keys, and then you should be golden.
Okay, thanks.
Good question. Yeah, well, we figured out the IP address. Richard beat me to it, but it's in the chat. It's number 96. And so we'll add it to the dedicated server for next meetup, so we can take a look at it. Maybe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Beautiful. One question that we get regularly, and most of us think we know the answer, right? So, I will ask it to use as a point of authority. So for once and all, we can just point to this video and get a definite answer. Is what is the logic for retiring machines? And then
it kind of
it depends.
It goes, yeah. So the primary driver really is the age of a machine, as you're aware. The things that can influence that, additionally, are if a machine has been, let's say, problematic. This can maybe reduce the life.
like Surfmon, all right?
Yeah. not naming any names, but
Yeah.
as you said, like Surfmon, this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we get that question a lot, and we say it in Discord as well. And then the next thing that happens is like a machine that you don't expect gets retired, and then people are like, oh, how?
Yeah.
Well, it's good to hear from a point of authority, age, or either being problematic, right? That's it's probably the same thing in many other types of things, right?
Yeah.
Anybody else have a question?
One more, please.
Yeah,
It's also about machines and problematic machines.
Uh-oh.
We've seen that worker was slow.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys then assign more resources to the virtual machine? Or how does that work?
Okay, that's a very good question. And so there are multiple things which are going on internally to address that and make sure this particular issue doesn't happen again. One of them I can't say too much right now because it's kind of insider information. The second one is just making sure that we're replicating the testing infrastructure and the live infrastructure as much as we can. And so this is another thing that's going to help. And just making sure that we test with as many people as we can on a machine. So it's very hard for us to replicate 50 people on a production server, but even if we try with 2 or 3 people, it's still better than just one, right?
Yeah.
And so this is something that we can do as well. I think that it's okay for us to make mistakes, of course, but as long as we don't make the same mistakes, that's when it's bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we take that question and take it a little bit further, have you thought about having communities help with the testing? Like we have a community of on Discord. We're at, I don't know how many we have now, somewhere around nearly 100 people.
Yeah.
Just below it. Willing to test something if you would like to. Have you thought about taking the community and going into like a testing phase of stuff?
This is also something which we've discussed. You are, or anybody, yourself or anyone else is welcome to leave feedback or raise a support ticket on the Hackbox platform to have like an official response on that, but I can't really comment too much on that here, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. All right. So call Nikos and get it sorted out. Right?
Yeah.
I will ask him. We've been talking about enhancements to Hack the Box from a dedicated server point of view. I will throw at him if he would like or would love to have some community help in testing machines just before they're released or something like that. But I can also understand that there would be like confidentiality issues, I guess, right? You don't want to leak machines before they live, stuff like that.
Right.
Testers would mean they can. Oh, Richard asks or states. I don't know. Richard, would you like to say what you wrote?
Yeah, I mean, if people would test a box or a challenge before it's released, then obviously they cannot participate in the contest anymore or the challenge.
Yeah, you would not be able to get points. That's what you mean.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess if that's important, then you should not be a tester, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. And how do you think Hack the Box is used by most people? There's obviously people that go for the points. We have the A team that tries to get every machine every single time. But is that like the complete target audience, or do you think that the point system is just a very nice thing to have, but it's not that relevant?
So this is kind of, it depends as well, right? Because some people just like playing, and other people like the competitive element. So it kind of works. Whatever you're after, I think you can either ignore the scoreboard or you can not ignore it, right?
Sure.
So yeah, I think it's kind of
from a personal perspective, like if I spend like every week some time on the challenges and I pick all the new machines, at one point I will have pretty much every machine done that is active at a point. So I have plenty of points. But it takes a lot of investment, so I don't do it. So I don't care about the points, right? Because I'm somewhere around 800 or 600, or depending on how active I am. I've been on holiday for a couple of weeks, so now I'm like somewhere in 900, I guess. So for me personally, it's not really relevant. It's I would think if you get into the top 100 or the top 50, then it's a really competitive type thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You see the guys in the top 100, the top 50, the top 10. It gets very, very competitive, and especially with teams. You're right, like A team. I remember when the Donkeys were kind of the number one team, and then the A team are. And so yeah, it's interesting seeing the leaderboards change.
Yeah, and do you think about those highly competitive players as well when you develop? Let me rephrase the question. When you develop new challenges, obviously sometimes you think about the really hard ones, just to the insane level, but for most people, those machines, well, with the write-up, they're doable, but for most people, the normal machines, easy, medium, are the ones that they really like to do. How do you balance that?
Yeah, I guess, like say, the only real way we can balance that is just with the easy, medium, hard, insane level. Of course, we want to be welcoming to beginners. We're not an elitist platform in any way. We are welcome to everybody, but we do have to understand that we have some very highly skilled people who play. And so, yeah, you're right. There is a balance, and we do need to try it as hard as we can to make sure we keep everybody happy.
Yeah, you throw them a rope every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that pun, right? Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Does anybody have any more questions? Let's see if there's. It's quite quiet. No more questions. Oh, wait. There's Hidde. Hidde, you can ask your own question, I guess, right?
Yeah. So what kind of technologies do you use to make machines? Like Vagrant, VMware?
I'm just going to join for my mobile, actually, because my laptop's losing power, but I won't be a second.
Okay.
That's a very smooth thing, right? My battery is almost dead. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Okay,
way of dodging a
that
question.
should be okay. Perfect. Call using internet audio. Okay, so if I mute.
Yeah, I mute you by default, right? Red, what are you? I think you're red, right? Let's see, there we go. Ask to unmute.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
we hear you again. Yeah.
okay, perfect. Great, great. So I'm just leaving that one and I'm joining on this one. Perfect. Well, yeah, sorry about that. I really I moved house today, and it seems that the movers actually moved my power supply for the laptop.
Nice. So you can no longer work after this, right?
Yeah, well, or I have to very quickly go and get my power supply wherever it is in the 50 boxes. But yeah. So
moving is always fun.
I'm sorry. In terms of technologies that we use, so at the operating system level, we can look at Windows, Linux. We are very interested also in different operating systems, and so let's say, I can't say which ones for sure we're looking at because that would be a spoiler, but we are very interested in different ones as well. In terms of applications, we're really interested in DevOps and web and anything really that can be useful for people in real life. And so hopefully that answers that question. If not, I'm happy to maybe clarify if that hasn't really answered the question that well.
I want more like, do you use something like Vagrant or Docker to make machines, something like that? Or how do you build machines yourself?
Interesting. We do automate some of the machine creation. If it's a single machine, then I think it's fine to set it up from scratch. But if we set up a ProLab or anything like that, or if we have like a certain type of machine which we need to create a lot of instances for, then it makes sense for us to automate that, and we do automate.
Okay.
Great. Let's see. Anybody have another question? In the chat, somebody is working on buff, so he's asking his questions about buff. Well, his question was basically any of the free boxes you'd recommend to a new player.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I would definitely recommend. I would definitely recommend buff. I would recommend Active. I know it's a retired machine, but just for an introduction to Active Directory, and actually for stuff that you could still find on a real environment, I think Active would be good, and also buff. They would be my two picks.
Yeah, we advise them to do buff as well. So that's good. Hida also notes Blunder and Remote are also very good.
Yeah, two very good machines also there. Yeah.
Are any of them your work? Right?
No. Blunder and buff are by Egotistical SW, and Remote and Active are Mr. Ben.
Yeah. So let's see. What machines that you made are now available to the free tier? So the most players here are in the free tier. That you would recommend and say like, go and try my work. You can do it now.
I would recommend Tabby. It's kind of in hindsight, and this is one of the things that also is kind of interesting to talk about, right? It's how people rate the difficulty of machines, because it's so subjective. What you might think is an easy machine, it comes down to the kind of the bias. We're very biased to kind of downplay the difficulty, I think, as a creator. And so this is something we need to fight. Something else we also need to fight is that as our skills increase over time, we need to make sure that what we perceive as an easy machine still stays the same, right?
Yeah,
Because
indeed, yeah.
otherwise this kind of the difficulty increases over time, which isn't really good. And so, yeah, for me, I would say maybe one of my machines, Tabby, I think is good for beginners.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed that. That was the thing that I was wondering as well. You said like Chap, he made like 20 machines, or Harris. You're coming up to that level. Currently, there's 174 machines in the lab,
Yeah.
but most of it, there's a group of designers that made most machines, right? So,
Yeah.
So as you get more skilled in making machines, it becomes more difficult to make easy machines, I would think, because your skill level increases every single time, and you might, yeah, well, like you said, you get biased to say, well, it's not that hard, right? And then somebody goes and looks at it, goes like, what?
I think if you're aware of the bias, then you can kind of like fight it a bit. If you're not aware of the bias, then yeah, for sure, I'd agree. But I think if you kind of, if you're very clear about what a beginner machine is, then I think you're kind of halfway there. Yeah. Even if your skills get really advanced in something, it's really helpful not to lose sight of what a beginner machine should be.
Right, and I was wondering, do you have any means that you use to actually play test like a machine? Do you give it to somebody else and say like, hey, give this a try and see what they think?
Yeah, we have an internal testing process that we're very that we're refining the whole time, and we're looking to improve it. And as part of that, we also do give feedback on the difficulty as well as the enjoyment, concurrent exploitation, and a lot of different other things. Yeah.
Right. Oh, Jesse has a question. A bit more of a general question. Arjen mentioned before he used Hack the Box with classes. What are both your thoughts about knowledge, which is absolutely necessary to start in cybersecurity? I guess it's a question to me and you.
Yeah.
As your guest, I will let you go first. What do you think somebody needs to know when getting into cybersecurity?
Interesting. Well, I think the most thing. Something that they should know, or something that they should learn to know?
Well, the question literally is, what is absolutely necessary to start in cybersecurity? So knowledge that is absolutely necessary.
For me, I think the main thing, and really the only thing you need, is the ability to kind of, once you've learned how to learn, everything else is possible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. Right? There's a bunch of things that we actually teach people to how to learn though. Yes, there's a good question. And let me first answer the question. To give some context, I teach cybersecurity for Nova University in Utrecht, and we have like a cybersecurity course, which is like a bachelor degree level thing, right? And we teach a bunch of fundamental concepts that people should learn, from basic things from infrastructure, but also about organization and culture and awareness and stuff like that. Because cybersecurity, if you look at it as a whole in the industry, Hack the Box is a beautiful platform that teaches you about infrastructure, about weaknesses, and about learning how to find weaknesses, and basically triggering yourself to learn new things, right? Because you go to a machine, you see like a high port open, you go like, what is that? Or you see a web application and you think, maybe if you take Ouch, for instance, you learn a lot about one specific concept, and then you learn how to find information about things that are used in the industry, which is awesome. To get into the broader cybersecurity, you would actually need more of a foundation when it comes to how organizations deal with cybersecurity, how they deal with threats, how they get their information and how they act upon it. But I think the most critical thing that you need to have when going into cybersecurity is to actually know that you will never know everything, and that you should be open to any form of information or new experience that comes your way. And to like, if you have a toolbox, if you compare it with a toolbox, to keep your tools in a very good condition. And that could be either you're going into infrastructure and pen testing, so you use things like Hack the Box to, well, to learn new things, to get challenged and to evolve your skills. Or you go into the more organizational part of you, and then you go into the more boring, well, culture and awareness and stuff like that. But what you said, it goes back to being able to take information, take that new information and know what to do with it. And knowing what to do with it is more of a learning how to deal and process information and turning that into actions. So yeah, it's not a very easy question to answer, except for, well, you know, basically have to accept that you know very little. Then you learn a lot, and then you get to the point that you think, well, I don't know that much, right? And then you keep going from there.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see, there's, well, Mr. Robot asks how to learn though. Well, from doing, from if we take a look at pure the pen testing point of view, so working as a pen tester in the industry, it is a matter of just doing, sharing information, not being afraid to share what you think, and then see how people react to it. Because there's a lot of people in a community that are very happy to just talk to you about, hey, well, how do you think Active Directory works? Or learn something about LDAP, and then ask a question, get an answer, and then having a discussion of how stuff works. Just having that discussion is key. You can read about it, and you read about it all the time, but finding somebody who's a subject matter expert and just asking them questions gives you so much more insight. There is Miranda, ethnic, and every starter like me, start with training online and learn how to pen test hack. Can recommend Udemy course, of course. Hidde says practicing. Mikey says practical ethical hacking course. It's really interesting. Yeah. Thank you for the answer. Jesse says, thank you for the answer. Marco says, in general, I would say learn how to search and think logically, then you can find anything within cybersecurity. He actually called it Cougar security, but they probably mean cybersecurity, right? Learn on your feet, get past the Dunning-Kruger stage at least. Yeah, let's see, there's many more. An hour ago, someone posted on the Meetup site that he's stuck in a waiting room. Well, Houdin is no longer stuck in the waiting room. At least there's nobody in the waiting room. So let's see. It is an old one, but not prom. It's a nice internet quiz in learning how to, there's several quizzes. Yeah, it reminds me, we also have a book club, so that's quite interesting. We most of the times have discussions about books as well in this thing. But there's a book by Carl Newport. It's called Deep Work. And there's a book called Mastery. Those two books go about learning something, right? It used to be that people would learn something by going into an apprenticeship and going into like a smithy and then learning how to make weapons or jewelry, stuff like that. And they would take 7 years to do so, the 10,000 hour mark. If you're into that, the point at which you could say, like, I've studied enough to become a master at something. But they basically state that in order to learn something, you have to dedicate yourself to learning it. And so if you want to go into like a certification like OCP, or you want to get really good at Hack the Box, the thing is to just do it and just say, well, every other day I take 1 or 2 hours of my time and I focus those 2 hours on just learning it and doing it and starting easy and going harder and harder and harder. Just doing that makes that you actively learn and you soak up all that information. There's some really good books on the subject. They're a little bit dry, but there's some really good presentations about it. But I guess the 2-line summary would be like, reserve time and spend that time practicing the thing that you want to learn. And then it just takes time. And for one, it is sooner than the other, I would say, right? Yeah, let's see, those were the remarks. Let's see if there's any other questions. There's a new thing. Oh, nice. There's a question. It's not related to Hack the Box, but more to your opinion. How is OSWE viewed by the cybersecurity world compared to OSCP? I don't know if you have an opinion about that, Ian.
It's just it's more difficult. Yeah.
What is your general? Let's generalize. What is your take on certifications in the hacking space?
Interesting, and kind of slight. Yeah, I mean, how to answer that? I guess there, of course, are a lot of certifications in the hacking space, but they aren't all equivalent, of course. Some are more highly regarded than others. Some are kind of more highly regarded by HR and people, and some are more highly regarded by the practitioners and security people. So it's worth getting certified in, you know, whatever you need to showcase your skills to potential employers, but also, yeah, certifications for pro labs, of course, show that you can do pen testing. Certifications for OSCP or whatever. Likewise, they showcase that you're able to learn and that you have the required skills. So
yeah, I always think of them as a shared vocabulary, like any form of education. If you ask people to have a bachelor degree, you ask them to have some of the shared knowledge that you get when you have a bachelor degree. The same with pen testing or OCP, for instance. If you take a course, the person on the other end will know what you've done and what you've accomplished and what you should know at the time that you have that certification.
Yeah.
And others are more of an HR instrument, of course, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We shall not name it, but it has 3 letters. Anybody else have a question? If not, then we'll close out, right? Yeah, or close out. We'll close the Ian section of this evening. Really? Well, Ian, this was your first meetup. I have one last question. Then,
yeah.
How did you like joining our meetup this evening?
For me, it's a really nice experience. I used to do physical meetups with Sec Talks, and for me, this was my first kind of. I never really did the Hack the Box meetup because I joined as a moderator, and then I was speaking to a lot of people in Hack the Box, and so for me, it's nice to join a virtual Hack the Box meetup. I like it.
Nice. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you very much. We'll give a round of virtual applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.